Okay, so we're going to talk about how to do the arrow way place value strategy for addition and subtraction. And you can do this with either addition or subtraction, but the way that this works is we'll start with this one first, 38 plus 12. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my first number. And it's usually a good practice to teach your students to start with the first number because in subtraction, you're going to have to do that anyway. In addition, it doesn't really matter. But what you do is you start with the first number, 38, and you have an arrow. And what you're doing is you're breaking apart that second addend to make it a little easier to add. So what I'm going to do is, since I'm adding, I'm going to put plus 10 above my arrow. And I know that 38 plus 10 is 48. Then I'm going to do another arrow. And I'm going to do plus 10 above that. I'm sorry, plus 2 above that arrow. And that gives me 50. So as you can see, I have added 10 plus 2, which is from that 12. And that has given me the opportunity to show that broken apart in this way. Another way that you can do it, let's say we have 38 minus 12. And this is going to work in the same way. I'm going to start with 38. And I'm going to draw my arrow. Sometimes kids like to draw their arrows, like they like to maybe start on this side of the paper and work their way this way. But I like to go ahead and start on this side of the paper because it can get a little bit confusing. But I'm going to do 38 minus 10. That gives me 28. Then I'm going to do another arrow minus 2, and that gives me 26. Just like that. This is the arrow way. You can do larger numbers as well. For example, let's say that I have 145 and I want to subtract 32. So 145 minus 32. So what I'll do is I'll start with 145. I'll draw my arrow, and sometimes it's a good idea to break it up into the individual units and do minus 10 3 times. But if your students are advanced enough, you can do minus 30. So it could look like this, and then they'll come up with 115. And then minus 2, and then that'll give you 113. Or, like I was saying before, your students can do 145 minus a 10, and that's going to give them 135, minus another 10, 125, minus another 10, because this is 30 right there. So I'm showing subtracting that those 3 10s. That gives me 115 minus the 2 1s, and then that's going to get me to 113, which is my answer. This is the arrow way.